Thank you for joining our webinar, Compliance Verification for Amazon's Dietary Supplements Policy. I'm Genevieve Randall, and I'll be moderating today's webinar, hosted by Angela Heimgarner, Jeff Stassi, and Jennifer Caveney. The webinar today will cover what is Amazon's Dietary Supplements Policy, the Selling Partner Experience, the Requirements Overview, and the verification process itself. Okay, and Jeff will get us started. Thank you.
Thank you, Genevieve. I appreciate the introduction. All right, as of now, I'm sure you have all heard about the Amazon announcement. There is changes to the dietary supplement policy. And this, of course, went out on April 2nd. I'm sure a lot of you have been notified by Amazon and are looking to understand your compliance requirements. On April 17th, they did a bigger rollout. So again, I'm sure a lot of you on the phone here are interested to know what some of the details of the policy, which we'll get into, and some of the other processes that are that focus on the Amazon policy and our process at Eurofins. And I'm going to pass this over to my colleague, Angela Heimgarner, who's going to talk about the selling partner experience.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everyone. I'm going to walk you through what you can expect working with Eurofins. This slide demonstrates a high-level process flow of how Eurofins will partner with you for verification against Amazon's dietary supplements policy. The orange boxes represent Amazon, the blue boxes represent Eurofins, and the green boxes represent the selling partners. The first step is to initiate your test request form, otherwise known as a TRF, through your Manager Compliance page on Seller Central. Your TR number will be sent to Eurofins. A welcome email will be sent to you from our client services team. The email will provide detailed instructions and next steps in order for us to prepare a quote for you. Please note, you will receive a welcome email for each TR number you submit. If some or all of your TR numbers are part of a product family, please respond to one email and include all those TR numbers that are part of the product family. This will allow us to communicate with you more effectively and enable us to prepare one quote for all the products in this family. Once we receive your label and required information, a quote will be created and sent to you via DocuSign. You will also receive payment instructions if you choose to sign and return the quote. By signing the quote, you agree to our general terms and conditions as well as the quote price. Once payment is received, we will send you a final email to obtain any necessary onboarding information to set up your account, if applicable. Our team of dedicated client services specialists will submit your order within our electronic ordering system, also known as EOL. We will then email you the PDF of your order summary. Simply print and include this PDF with your shipment of samples and send to our lab. It is imperative that this summary accompanies your samples to avoid delays in handling. Once samples are received with the proper paperwork, our team of dedicated enterers will enter your samples into our LIMS software. The lab will perform the needed testing, and we will complete the verification against Amazon's dietary supplements policy. More details will be shared about the testing and verification process in this webinar. Finally, our team will share the results with Amazon and with you. You will see on your Manage Your Compliance dashboard and you will also be emailed your final certificate of analysis. Eurofins is excited to partner with you in this policy. To get started, please visit your Sellers Central page. Please visit our landing page for more information about the process, a frequently asked question document, and how to reach out to us with questions. At this time, I will turn it back over to Jeff to talk about the requirements overview.
Thank you, Angela. So Amazon's dietary supplements policy, you may be familiar with what I'll call the old policy that was prior to April 2nd, anything that happened with Amazon and being able to sell on Amazon as the old policy. Now, this new policy, of course, has been designed solely for Amazon. Amazon designed this program or this supplements policy to adhere to some of the requirements that are revolving around this slide. So I'll talk a little bit about these and I'll get into a little bit more detail as I go on. But first and foremost, the biggest focus now is on a few of the high-risk product categories, namely weight management, sexual enhancement, and sports nutrition bodybuilding. So those are the three high-focus categories at this point in time. So I'm certain many of you have been notified by Amazon that your products fall in one of these risk categories and therefore need to adhere to this policy. This program, this policy now focuses a lot more on the safety aspects of the program. So contaminants and adulterants will be a big focus for all of the products that are required within this policy. There's also a product quality piece which revolves around label claims, something that you've been doing all along as well. So this is probably not anything too new as well, but I will get into some of the detail as far as how test selections and ingredient selections are made. There is also a GMP verification piece that my colleague Jennifer will take on later in the presentation and talk to you a little bit about, I guess, the non-testing part of this program and how that works. All of these results will be reported directly into Amazon's portal. So they will get the results directly from the laboratory, from Eurofins in this case. And that's kind of how things work now, different from maybe what you're used to in the past. And then there's an overall verification that we will use to determine whether the product passes and fails. And again, we'll talk about this in more detail as we go. So the two major buckets, what I would say, are the testing piece and the verification piece. And those two combine together to determine whether the product meets the requirements of the new policy. Again, Jennifer will talk more about verification, so I'll just gloss over that a bit. But the testing piece revolves around a lot of things that I've described here with label claim verifications, adulterants, heavy metals, microbiology, certain things that will have to be tested in order to comply with this policy. All of these come together in a summary at the end that then gets loaded to Amazon's system. You'll be able to access it in the manager compliance dashboard to see the summary report and see that. But you'll also receive a C of A when results and testing is completed, so you completely understand where you stand with the testing on the product. The pharmaceutical adulterants, again, this is something you're probably aware of and has been in the policy for a long time now, since for the last few years. But they did increase or did upgrade the adulterant screen to contain many more compounds. So these three categories all have different compounds than maybe you were used to before in testing. Sexual enhancement has a screen of a number of compounds, weight management, as well as sports nutrition and bodybuilding. Eurofins has developed these methods. We have validated these methods. They're ready to go. So we have no delays in what we're going to be able to provide. We're all set to go on all these compounds, and these compounds will be listed. I believe in ANSI 173, if you're not familiar with that, is a guidance document for industry that contains a lot of the method information, the specifications that need to be met, and things like that. So if you don't have a version of that, please, I'd encourage you to get your hands on that document if you want to know a little bit more about those types of things, because we're not going to get too much in detail on the specifications as it relates to some of these things today. Microbiological contamination is also now a big part of this program as part of the safety analysis of the program in these products. They are requiring these 7 microbiological components to be included in the testing suite of microbes to be analyzed. So aerobic plate count, E. coli, salmonella, yeast mold, staph, pseudomonas, and enterobacteriaceae are all required within this program for all products that you've been notified of. So obviously this is probably different than what you're used to, but of course this is part of the Amazon program, and they are requiring these to be done. So again, microbiology is another big piece of this program. And heavy metals. Heavy metals is obviously something maybe you've been doing within the confines of your test program, but this is now a requirement for selling on Amazon to have these components tested as well. Cadmium, arsenic, lead, mercury, and chromium. And chromium-6 has been something they're focusing on as well. So some of these things you may not have in your general overall quality program for testing, but as far as it relates to Amazon's policy, these are the compounds that are necessary. The specifications that are designed around these are in ANSI, NSF ANSI 173 document, and we have some of these as well that we have published as well. So we'll need to adhere to those limits and specifications to pass through this policy. Angela mentioned a little bit about product family, and I just wanted to kind of define and go over maybe the eligibility criteria of what is considered a product family. A product family, again, it kind of is what it says it is. It's a group of similar enough products that a single parent product will represent all of the child products within the family. So a good example would be if you have a product that has 3 different bottle counts. There are 3 different ASINs, but they're all part of a product family. So those would be eligible to be quoted as a family, and therefore only one test of the parent product would represent the rest of the child products. So also they consider different flavors of the same product part of a product family. So certainly if you have any questions about eligibility and how that might be defined, we're happy to help assist in the eligibility of the program or of how they might be considered part of a product family. But certainly reach out when you create the TRF. We want to know at that point when we can start to determine whether you have a product family or not. Save you a lot of money in the long run, of course, and we'll get all this done together if at all possible. The label claim, of course, is still a big part of this program. And obviously something that's, I'm sure you're doing within the confines, again, of any general test program that you have that you're doing for your own release and things like that. But here is some of the detail that maybe has not been too clear over a while. And I'm sure a lot of you listened into the Amazon webinar on the 17th last week that they described their policy. Wanted to put a little more emphasis on this particular part of the program. So testing of the label verification piece. Amazon has stated that anything that has 5 or less declared ingredients in the product, all 5 should be selected to be tested. Okay, so I guess we'll call that smaller labels, test everything on the label. That kind of is kind of a rule of thumb here. Anything that has more than 5 declared dietary ingredients, we will test 5 plus 1 of every additional 5. So it kind of starts to multiply from there depending on how large your label is. If you have 10, 20, 30 different declared ingredients, then you may have 7, 8, 9 different compounds that will be tested to represent the product. Now, we're going to run into certain scenarios, especially with natural products and things that where there is no, what I'll say, quantifiable test method that is available to quantify and verify the label claim. Amazon has made it clear that those are exempt at this point from testing, and therefore we will just select, some other tests. If for whatever reason nothing can be done as far as quantifying the label claim, then all of the safety related things still apply, the heavy metals, the contaminants, those types of things. So the way we're going to look at this from a laboratory perspective is there is obviously some selection criteria that we'll make. We will do our best to pick the analytes within the product. We can't test everything. We're going to make sure that, we cross-section different compounds. So if you have fat-soluble vitamins and water-soluble vitamins and amino acids, we're going to try to select those components that represent the entirety of the product so that, once you get those subset of things tested, it is a pretty good representation of the product itself. So we're going to do our best to do that. Anything that was done by input, I know that quantity by input was a big part of the policy early on, before April 2nd. That is no longer a requirement. We will not be offering quantity by input. You will not be required to present quantity by input in any way, shape, or form in this time in this program. So we're going to test the things that we can test quantifiably with a scientifically valid test method to make this program, to work this program through. The content claim and acceptance, I've had a lot of questions about these types of things. How do you know whether it passes or fails? So they have defined some criteria. Amazon has created some criteria within the confines of this dietary supplement policy that class 1 nutrients, which is I'll call added nutrients, and a lot of supplements, of course, have class 1 nutrients added, will accept 90% of the declared value within a class 1 nutrient. So if you have 100 milligrams, we'll accept 90 milligrams for example. A class 2 nutrient, anything that is determined to be class 2, they will accept 70% of the declared value. You might notice that this kind of doesn't quite mesh with what you might read as a class 1 nutrient, but we are allowing, I would say Amazon is allowing a 10% allowance for method variability among laboratories. So it was kind of their way of saying, okay, we will accept a certain amount of variance, but we wanted to define it in this manner. The laboratory will have some leeway depending on, if there's certain things that might vary more than what we see listed here. There might be some other justification, but certainly we'll use these criteria as our pass-fail criteria as we move forward. And group 3 nutrients, third group nutrients, calories, sugars, carbohydrates, total fat, those shall not be tested in the program. So we will stay away from those and go more to the dietary ingredient side of things when testing the label. And that's the kind of the policy detail I wanted to provide. I'm going to kick this over to my colleague Jennifer Caveney, who will talk about the verification process within this policy. Jennifer.
Great, thank you, Jeff. So on the screen here, we have a high-level overview of the Eurofins verification process. So after the seller onboards with Eurofins to comply with the Amazon Dietary Supplements policy, they will be provided with guidance on how to work with their manufacturers and other third-party labs to submit required documentation. Testing results, documentation, and product labels will all be reviewed against the Amazon Dietary Supplements policy, and pass-fail results are reported to both the selling partner and to Amazon. So as Jeff just walked through the different components of the testing requirements. So as you can see, there are different testing categories that will be conducted and reviewed to evaluate their pass-fail status. Amazon has defined the specific parameters of what testing results will be passing versus failing. So there will be multiple documents that will be reviewed against the Amazon Dietary Supplement policy for each product submitted. It is important to note that all documentation that will be submitted, with the exception of the product's label, must be received directly from the source. So from the manufacturer, or if you're submitting third-party testing results, coming directly from that lab. The reason for this is that we really want to mitigate the risk of any falsified documentation as we go through this process. The label that will be provided at onboarding must clearly show the entire product label, including the product name, ingredient list, supplement facts panel, and all applicable statements and instructions for use. The selling partner will need to work directly with their manufacturer to submit the GMP certificate along with the statement that certifies the products that the products that are made at that manufacturing location for that seller directly to the Eurofins verification team. As previously noted, part of the Amazon Dietary Supplement policy, testing results completed within the past 6 months at an ISO 17025 lab may be submitted for evaluation. These results, along with the third-party lab's ISO certification, will need to come directly from that third-party lab to the Eurofins verification team. All the instructions for submitting documentation to the Eurofins verification team will be provided to the selling partner during the onboarding process with Eurofins. Once the verification evaluation has been completed, pass and/or fail results will be reported directly to the selling partner via a certificate of analysis from Eurofins. These results will also be reported in Compliance Central and available via the Seller Central or Vendor Central dashboard, along with the certificates of analysis and a summary report of the Eurofins verification team's findings. For any failing results, the summary report will also provide some potential paths to remediation. The selling partner will work directly with Eurofins to document proposed resolutions to any failures and follow a formal CAPA process. One other quick thing that we wanted to note is that the turnaround time from start to finish for this process is about 3 weeks. So we definitely suggest reaching out sooner than later just to ensure that the process is completed within your compliance window. So this will conclude our presentation today. We appreciate your time, appreciate you joining. Definitely, we encourage you to visit our landing page for any additional information on how to partner with Eurofins on the Amazon Dietary Supplement policy.